This is a life update. So in case you don't know my story, in 2024, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. It had spread to my lymph nodes, so it was pretty advanced. But there was a background story that was happening. I come from a very abusive, violent, and troubled family. My mother was extremely abusive physically, verbally. She was very violent. She would beat us until we bled, specifically me. She was very focused on me. And they're all from Yemen. So in 2006, I decided to leave all that behind me and I came here to the United States. I was so excited. I was like, finally, I am free. And this is the fresh new version of me, American Maha. You know, all possibilities are available to me. So I decided to completely stop talking to my mother. And as a consequence, I had to stop talking to my sisters as well. I have 4 sisters. I'm the second oldest. So I have an older sister. We're very close in age. We're about 18 months. And then I have 3 younger sisters. And because they all live together, and if I stopped talking to my mother, I'd have to stop talking to everybody else. Fast forward 18 years later with completely zero communication, I get an email from one of my younger sisters. And she said, I know you don't want to have anything to do with us, but I just thought you should know that our older sister, my older sister, Maysoon, which we are 18 months apart, was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she's now in Jordan. She was there on vacation and she was by herself. Her husband left for work and she wanted to stay longer just to stay there to shop around and have fun. And she felt something. She went to the doctor and she got this cancer diagnosis. And now she's alone by herself in Jordan. And Yemen, the country that I'm from and where all my family lives, is a very troubled country. So there's a lot of wars going on. The airport's shut down. So there's no form of air transportation. So her husband wanted to go be with her during this shocking diagnosis, but he couldn't because there are no airplanes. The airplanes are shut down. And because there's a lot of conflict in that area, it's a very dangerous area, but he had to drive to another city, which is about 8 hours away from the capital, Sana'a, where they were. And it's a very dangerous drive because there's a lot of shootings and literally there's a war happening. And then from that city, he takes a plane to Jordan to be with her. So all that is happening. And so I had to break my silence. I called my sister right away. And we grew up together. We were very close. We shared the same bedroom. We shared the same clothes. We went to the same school. We had the same friends. So we really had the same childhood experience. But she ended up getting in an arranged marriage and living in Yemen and having children. And I ended up moving to the United States, going to school, earning a master's degree, and eventually creating a life for myself here. It's interesting with sisters. It's true that blood is thicker than water. So when I called her, it was like no time has passed. And she was like, Ma, and we started talking. I was trying to comfort her and tell her it's gonna be okay. Breast cancer is highly, highly treatable and she's gonna be okay, not to worry at all. And I told her that a few months earlier, I was working out and I had overdid it, and then I started to feel pain in my left breast and in the armpit area, and I just thought that I overdid it, and I was like, but it still was hurting throughout the months. It's been months, but I'm still aching. And when I talked to her, and I told her, where is the cancer? She said, in my left breast. And I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, we're so energetically connected that I can feel your pain. I just thought that I was empathic and I was feeling her pain. And she screamed over the phone. She's like, go get tested. I'm like, it's fine. I live a very healthy lifestyle. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a yogi. I practice yoga 2 hours a day, every single day. I eat healthy. I love nature. I have a very healthy environment in terms of my social network, my friends. I'm very careful of the way I speak, positive thinking. So there's no way. And she was like, just please, can you go get tested, get an MRI, get a mammogram anyway? And I had remembered that because of that injury, I wanted to get physical therapy. And so I don't go to doctors because I'm so healthy. My health was my superpower. So I never felt the need to go see a doctor. I didn't have a primary care physician. But I remember that because I wanted to get physical therapy, they said, oh, well, you have to establish care with a primary care physician. You can't just go to therapy and then the primary care physician needs to refer you to a physical therapist. And so I'm like, is there any way we can skip this? And they're like, no, you have to come to the office, establish care. She needs to physically examine you. So I went there and she did all the exams and she did all the breast exams. And I remember her saying, you're at that age where you need to get regular mammograms. And I ignored her. I'm like, can you please just give me that referral? I want to get physical therapy. And I snatched that referral and went and got physical therapy. And then when I was talking to Maysoon and she was like, please go get the mammogram, I remembered that conversation with my primary care physician. I get my mammogram and I have a class to teach after the mammogram. It's just another casual day in my life. I didn't expect anything out of it. I'm sitting in the waiting room. I remember it was cold. I don't know why those rooms are so cold. So the nurse gave me a blanket and I'm in that robe, completely naked underneath, except, for my underwear. And they called my name and I go into that room and I told them about my sister. So usually they would do a mammogram, but because of my sister's diagnosis, they decided that I'm higher risk. So they did a breast MRI. So we did that. I squeezed your boob into that machine. It hurt so bad. And I was chatting with the technician. I was like, do you do this all day, every day? Just like stare at boobs all day, every day? She's like, all day, every day. I've been doing this for 20 years. And we giggled and then I walked out still in that robe, half naked. I walk into the other room waiting for my results. I'm like, okay, what are my results? They're like, oh, we're gonna send it to your primary care physician and they're gonna give you the results. Expect it within 3 weeks. And I was shocked. I have to wait 3 weeks to get that peace of mind. And then a nurse came with a paper in her hand. There were like boxes and the one box was checked, marked as we found something suspicious. That was it. And I was looking at it, I'm like, what does this mean? She said, you're gonna need to talk to your primary care physician. They'll give you more information. And I said, okay, is there a doctor here? Can I talk to a doctor? Because I was just talking to a technician and then an admin and then the nurse who gave me the paper. I did not see any doctors. And she said, oh no, our doctor is busy, unfortunately. We're gonna send the detailed results to your primary care physician and they'll talk to you from there. And I go home waiting by the phone for 3 weeks for someone to call me. I didn't know because I never had anyone in my life experience this. How can someone tell you you might have cancer, go home and someone will call you and you wait 3 weeks? I mean, even if I didn't have cancer, just the worry and the anxiousness, I'm gonna develop cancer just from being obsessed waiting for the results. I finally get a call. They said, you have to come in and do a biopsy for us to confirm. And the next biopsy is in 2 months. That's the first opening they have. So again, I'm like pulling my hair. I have to wait for 2 months to go get a biopsy. I go get that biopsy finally after 2 months. And then same thing, we're gonna send the results to your primary care physician. Somebody will call you. I kept calling my primary care physician's office and she wasn't there. And I just kept leaving them voice messages. Please, somebody call me. I need to know now. Like flooded their inbox. And then finally Friday at 8 p.m., I get a phone call and I can tell from the caller ID that it's my primary care physician. And she says, are you sitting down? I have bad news. Is there anybody you can call? Is there anybody? I don't want you to get this news by yourself alone. I'm like, just give me the answer. Just tell me. I don't have anyone to call. I'm by myself. Just tell me. And then she says, you have breast cancer. It's invasive. It's advanced. And I didn't know what she meant. She was like, it's an invasive. I'm like, what does this mean? She meant it's spreading fast. everything you can imagine you would feel when you hear that diagnosis, I felt it. And I couldn't go to sleep, and I was just staring at the ceiling. I knew that my life will never, ever be the same after this moment. I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't want to call anyone. The only person that I felt like I wanted to talk to was my sister that I just spoke to a couple of months ago for the first time in 18 years. But I hesitated because she was already starting her cancer treatment. She just had her first chemotherapy and she was experiencing intense symptoms. So I didn't want to add to her stress and suffering, but I felt this pull to call her. There's this big time difference because she's in Jordan. Over there, it's daytime. So I called her and I told her, I'm like, remember when I told you I have that pain in my left shoulder? And I thought it was like an empathic connection. You won't believe this, but I have the same diagnosis. Breast cancer in the left side, invasive ductal carcinoma, which is exactly what she had. We both cried, and then she ended up comforting me in the same way that I was comforting her in our initial call. She's like, don't worry, it's highly treatable, you're gonna be okay. Come here, she kept saying, come here, come to Jordan, come be with me. I have a king-size bed and you can sleep here and we'll do our treatments together. And it felt so comforting to have a big sister. I've been by myself for 18 years in the United States with no family, and I always thought that I was alone in this world, and I had made my peace with that. It was a choice that I made. But I forgot how warm and comforting it is to have a sister and to have an older sister and to be part of a family that says, hey, come here, we'll take care of you. I had to stay here in the United States because my insurance is here and my treatment is here. I got my diagnosis December 7th. And December was my birthday month, so December 22 is my birthday. I spent it calling insurance and fighting over coverage and trying to find a doctor, and that doctor that accepts my insurance. And even when I was talking to representatives over the phone, they were like, happy birthday. And I'm like, yeah, the universe had a different plan for me. All of that was happening. I said, you know what? I know this is gonna take a while, so why don't I go see my sister before I start my treatment? She had already started her treatment because I don't know what's gonna happen to me. I don't know what's gonna happen to her. This might be our final time to see each other. I told her, I'm coming, sister. And I flew there and we slept in the same bed, in the king bed. It was almost like we were kids again in our PJs, talking and talking all night. Even though she was in chemo and she already had lost her hair and she was very weak. So everybody was there, her 3 kids, my sister and my mom. So she had 3 kids. Last time I saw them, they were babies and now they're in their 20s. I was shocked. And I was really nervous to see my mom. I haven't seen her or spoken to her in 18 years. And in my mind, she was this big bad wolf. But when I saw her, she was a lot older, a lot weaker. And I thought it was interesting how what trauma does. I was frozen in time because when I left her, I was the little kid and she was the powerful monster. And now the roles have changed. I'm a strong, independent American woman and she's older and weaker, and she was remorseful. She acknowledged what she did and she did say, I was really hard on you and I'm so sorry, please forgive me. And I was ready to let it all go. Even though I thought not in this lifetime would I ever be able to forgive what she did to me, because it was intense. And over my entire life up until my late 20s, violent abuse. I went to the hospital several times, broke some bones, bled. She would whip us with an electrical cord until we bled. So it was pretty intense what we went through as kids, especially me. But cancer has a way of changing your perspective in life and really understanding what matters and how short this life is. And carrying anger and resentment is toxic to the person that's carrying it. And I knew that I didn't have any room in my body, in my nervous system, in my psyche to carry any more toxic negative energy. So I had to forgive her for my own sake, for my own health, for my own well-being. It was the most beautiful week in my life. I get to reconnect with my niece and nephews. From my mother cooked for me every single day, lunch, breakfast, and dinner, and she would cook these elaborate meals, and she was trying to overcompensate and make up for lost times. I remember one time I came out of the shower and she's brushing my hair. I'm like, okay, relax. Okay, I don't need you to brush my hair. I'm a grown woman in my 40s. We played Uno cards, we sang karaoke. And even though, it was a tough time, two of us are diagnosed with cancer and my sister could barely get out of bed, it made me realize, I'm like, oh, this is family. This is what family is. It's messy, it's not perfect, but there is this special bond and there's this unconditional love, which is very, very powerful. Came back to the United States, started my treatment. It was intense chemotherapy. I was still working at the same time. I was still leading teacher trainings, and I wanted to continue to lead my teacher training. It gave me something to look forward to. So I would have my chemo on Monday, and then I go to my teacher training on Friday. And I remember I would be so fatigued and nauseous, and I could crawl to the bathroom on my hands and knees when I'm at home. But the moment I step into the seat of the teacher, when I'm in teacher training or leading a class, all that pain goes away like that. It's so powerful, this yoga, and how it really heals, and it saved my life over and over again. And so I kept organizing my schedule around my treatment. And I honestly, now when I look back, I don't know how I did it. I don't know. And I look back, I'm like, would I be able to do it again? I don't know. Maybe sometimes ignorance is a bliss, because now I know what chemotherapy feels like. But back then I was stubborn. I was like, I can do it. I can do anything. And I did. And I even filmed my 200-hour yoga teacher training, because at that point I was only delivering it in person. And to be honest, I wasn't sure what was going to happen to me. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to leave this world, I want to film my teacher training so it lives beyond me. I also wrote my book, Yogi Maha Method. Literally, I wrote this book and I used it as my teacher training manual, and it has all the poses and it has all the alignment points. I took these pictures of me a month before I got my diagnosis. The pictures were already ready. I just had to write the text of it. In chemo, I was in bed all day, every day. So I was literally under a blanket. In chemo, we were just typing. And there was this sense of urgency to get this out of my head and put it in paper and share it with the world. I wrote this entire book in 1 month because it was already in my head. I've been doing teacher trainings for years, and I've done this so many times. I just wanted to put it in paper. And so it was kind of like this download, and I wasn't sleeping because of chemotherapy, so I didn't know if this was daytime or nighttime. The days would pass and I'm still under that blanket, just type, and I didn't even eat because chemo makes you nauseous. So I was nauseous the whole time. So no eating, no sleeping. I have all this free time just sitting in bed. So I just typed away until I finished the book literally in 1 week. And then we edited and we uploaded the image and the design and all that stuff with the help of Tiffany Yao. She's one of my graduates. She did my teacher training and graduated. So she did the design and editing and put it on Amazon and put it on all the online sites where you can buy books. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, you guys. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, everybody. I woke up. My book just got delivered. The Yogi Maha Method. Look at this. Wow. Wait, am I doing it right? There you go. Oh my God, this is my first book to be published. And then I started filming the teacher training. My sister was pulling her hair. So because now we were FaceTiming every single day, my relationship with them was better than ever. We were closer than ever. And, they wanted to check in on me because I was going through chemo. And she was yelling at me, you need to rest. You're in treatment. You're sick. I couldn't. I just wrote the book. And then after I finished writing the book, I started filming the videos of the teacher training to make it available online on demand. And imagine I'm filming 200 hours and I filmed it. And in the videos, you can see I'm completely bald. I don't have any eyebrows. I don't have any lashes. I was so bloated from chemo. I couldn't even sit when I squat. My joints are so bloated and so achy. Imagine I'm a yogi, went from doing handstands and doing, lotus poses and, binding my body like a pretzel to a person who can't even sit down and can't even stand up. Balance was really hard for me. Just walking, I had to really be careful where I step my foot because a lot of people fall in cancer, like they just fall walking to the kitchen. I was doing all this in front of a camera, delivering a comprehensive curriculum and teacher training program to certify aspiring yoga teachers. All that while I'm doing chemotherapy. And then I remember it became so casual to the point that I'd be filming the training and I'd tell my students, oh, okay, I have a hard stop at 4 because I got to go to chemo. And then I see their faces, like their responses, like for me, it's natural. And for them, they're like, you just say it so casually, like you're going to get your hair done. Because I was just so used to it. And that's how I spend the entire year of 2024. And even though I was working, but I wasn't working as much as I did prior to cancer, so it really impacted my finances. It completely bankrupted me. My friends created a GoFundMe campaign and people really rallied around me, and they did a silent auction at the studio at the Mindry where I was teaching in Malibu, and everybody came through and donated to my campaign. And as much as grateful I was and in awe of the human spirit and how everybody showed up and came through and wanted to help me, but also it was hard. It was hard to ask for help, especially asking for money. It was very humbling. I just felt like I was naked. I was exposed because I was sharing my treatment, all my chemotherapy sessions, all my 25 radiation therapy sessions, 2 of my surgeries, and all of that was kind of breaking down. So chemo is every 2 weeks, 16 rounds of them. And then once I was done 2 surgeries, they had to be a month apart. And then after that, 25 rounds of radiation therapy. Those had to be every day, but Monday to Friday, not the weekends. And so once I was done with all of that, it really ended in November 6, 2024. That's why I'm doing this update, because it's a 1-year anniversary. And I wanted to share with you where I am. Even the documentary that I filmed 5 years ago, Scars Unseen, I filmed it with She TV Media, and it was still in production. I actually forgot about it. I didn't even think it was gonna see the day of light. All of a sudden, in the heat of chemotherapy, I get an email from the producer. Guess what? The film is going to premiere at the Chinese theater where the Oscars are hosted. This is our Hollywood premiere, and you're invited to the red carpet. There's going to be press. There's going to be, and I am bold with no eyebrows. And the documentary talks about my upbringing and the traumatizing experience that I had, like I mentioned, with my abusive mother, and I survived 2 civil wars in Yemen and multiple life-threatening situations. You'd have to see the documentary to understand what I went through. I had 2 arranged marriages. One of the husbands tried to kill me with a sword and a machine gun. I mean, you couldn't make this shit up if you wanted to. My life is insane. So that was all in the documentary. So I go to the red carpet, completely bold, no eyebrows, the press is there, everybody wants to talk to me, the camera lights are in my face, and I had to talk about the documentary, but then they were always also curious about my face and my chemo and like, what's going on with you now? Because the documentary is kind of 5 years old, and in the documentary I'm talking about things that happened 20 years ago, and now this is happening right now. So by the end of 2024, I was completely worn out. exhausted, financially bankrupt, emotionally bankrupt, physically bankrupt, mentally bankrupt, you name it. I was completely out of gas. I literally could not afford my rent anymore, so I had to leave my apartment. One of my friends, she said, you know what, Maha, why don't you come to my guest house? I have a completely detached guest house with its own entrance, with its own front yard. It's a completely fully furnished guest house. Why don't you stay there until you can figure the next steps for your life? I moved there literally Christmas Day. During Christmas, I'm moving and packing my stuff, and they're having their family Christmas gathering in the big house. And I'm finally, I'm like, I can breathe now. I can like start to reorganize my life and think of where I want my life to be moving forward. And guess what happened? The Palisades wildfires hit. I mean, can you believe this? And I was in Malibu. I was in the heat of it. And I was FaceTiming with my sister in Yemen, and I was telling her there's a fire. And she's like, oh, she just thought it was like a regular fire. I'm like, no, people are evacuating. The governor declared a state of emergency, the National Guard coming. The electricity was off. In Yemen, the electricity is always shut off just because they have a weak electricity system. And she's like, well, you moved to Malibu and now we're equal. It's exactly like Yemen. You don't have electricity. Everybody was calling me, you should evacuate, you should move. But I was checking the news and I was getting regular fire updates, and my zone wasn't under evacuation order. It wasn't even under preparation to evacuate. I'm not gonna move until the authorities tell me to move, because people were panicking even though the government didn't tell them to move. But you know, people, they just panicked and started driving around. But there wasn't anywhere to drive around because there's only PCH in Malibu. There's like one road that gets you out of Malibu, and half of it was burning down. So you could only go north, you couldn't go south. But then there was another fire coming from the northbound. So we kind of were blocked. Like there's a fire hits and southbound, fire northbound. And so people were getting stuck, and it was a very dangerous situation. I had an electrical car, and it wasn't fully charged, and there was no electricity to charge it. So I was really stuck. I remember my friends were telling me, don't sleep, I'm gonna suffocate and burn to death in my sleep. I'm like, I just came from cancer. This is supposed to be my rest house. This is supposed to be my break. The fire didn't come our way. The house was spared where I was, but there wasn't electricity for about a month. And we had to shower with cold water, which I was fine with. For me, it was a luxury. I was just happy that I had this beautiful, gorgeous guest house. Literally, I had ocean views. I live in Malibu. My host is the most kindest, most generous person on planet Earth. Gina, I love you. You are an angel. And her husband, I mean, they were just amazing. And I stayed there for 3 months. Eventually, the electricity came back and life became normal, but that gave me a breather, 3 months to find a new place to live and reorganize my life. I moved to my new apartment. This is my new apartment, and I love it. It's awesome and it's quiet. But the moment I moved in April 1st, and on April 12th, I got shingles. I got so sick. I started to feel this fever. I got this rash, and the rash was exactly in my left breast and armpit where the radiation and chemotherapy and the surgeries were happening. So I panicked. I went to see my doctor, and she said, this is not the cancer. I thought the cancer came back. And she said, this is shingles. And I didn't even know what shingles is. I'm like, ew, shingles, isn't that like something gross? Or I didn't know what shingles was. She's like, this, I'm like, is it a virus? She's like, this comes from stress. You've been through so much. Your body's finally safe enough to express its stress. So I got the shingles, and they were so painful. And I was, again, bedridden, on medication. I had to cancel all my classes because it is contagious. Of course, that impacted me financially. I was just starting to pick myself up. It took a month to heal from shingles. And then I really, really had to take a good look at my life because the way I was living was not sustainable. I had to change my work schedule. I had to change my priorities. I had to really, really give myself rest, because that whole year of 2024, I didn't rest. I pushed myself too hard. I was overstressed, worried about the finances, and worried about cancer. So I really needed time to cocoon in, to go inward. In yoga, it's called samana vayu, and really become like a hermit. This apartment, I furnished it in a way to allow me to feel comfortable and nourished. For me, my bed, my bedding, my fluffy pillows, a really nice fluffy blanket, a cool blanket and a warm blanket, because there were side effects and I started getting hot flashes. I had to change my clothes, my pajamas, because the side effects, because I'm still on hormone therapy to prevent reoccurrence. Here's the thing. So when you get that green light from your doctor and you're cancer free, you completed all of your treatment and everybody throws a party for you and congratulations, yay, I'm cancer free. I'm not the same person as pre-cancer, and I feel there's not enough conversation about this, and there's not also enough resources about this, because people really rally around you when you're in that crisis, when you're in the heat of cancer treatment. And then they're like, okay, congratulations. They think you're back to normal. There is no back to normal. And my body changed completely. I'm still on intense hormone therapy. I have so many medications that I have to take every day that have side effects. Dizziness, nausea, hot flashes, because they had to put me in early menopause. Because the cancer was estrogen driven, so the estrogen was causing the cancer. So now they have to block all the estrogen in my body to prevent reoccurrence. So I don't have an ounce of estrogen in my body. So if I were to go to normal menopause, like regular healthy women, the estrogen would decrease over time gradually. That's called perimenopause. And even when women hit menopause naturally, they still have some sort of estrogen in their body. Of course, it's a little amount, but because other parts of the body produce estrogen, the bones, the skin, there's different organs in the body that still produce estrogen. So it's minimal, but it's still there. But for me, there's 0% of estrogen in my body, and it happened overnight. It wasn't gradual. So the side effects were extremely intense than a regular woman would have in a regular natural infused menopause. I had to change my wardrobe to wear clothes that are sweat resistant, bamboo, natural, light clothing. My bedding, my linen, everything had to change to accommodate my new normal, my new body, and my new mind. Everything changed. I feel like I aged overnight. My memory was impacted, and it gave me social anxiety because I can't remember things, and sometimes I worry, did I say this thing? Am I repeating myself? Did I say this 100 times? And I'm so embarrassed because I don't want people to feel that I'm not listening to them, or I'm not paying attention to them, or I don't care about them. Because when you go through something like this, people, they have the best intention, but the last thing you want when you are going through something like this is advice. Do not give advice to someone who is going through cancer and cancer treatment. It is exhausting. It is overwhelming. I would get flooded by advice. Oh, you should be vegetarian, which I was. You should only eat keto diet. You should try these essential oils. You should try this treatment. Somebody swears by it. Don't do chemo, do chemo. There was just so much. Intermittent fasting. Go to Arizona. I've heard it all, and it was just so overwhelming because I was just trying to see the next step and the next step and the next step and just get through it. I'm so happy that I listened to my doctors. I ended up with the best doctors in the world. My hair started to grow back. It grew back really super curly. I would wake up and it's like this. I didn't cut it, I didn't care. I'm telling you, your priorities change. Before cancer, I had to color my hair every 2 weeks. I would never leave the house without makeup. My nails are always done. I'm always dressed nicely. And I remember I was always like this, even when I was a kid. Like, I wouldn't even go get my mail from the mailbox unless I'm fully dressed. And now that completely changed. I didn't care. I let my hair grow however it wanted to grow, because once you're bold and you're bare naked to the world, like, that's the least of your worries. I let it grow naturally and I stopped coloring it. And I don't know if you can see, but like, I have gray hair. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of my age. I'm proud of my wrinkles. I'm proud of my gray hair. I really now, I look forward to aging. I feel like I've earned it and I own it, and I want to be like this old great hair lady that's just full of wisdom and loving, and like just a warm old lady that everybody comes to for advice. I want to be that lady. I don't want to look younger than my natural age. I've been that age. I was young. I enjoyed it. It was amazing. I want to embody and embrace every stage of my life. It's part of being grateful for life, because cancer gave me this sense of appreciation that I really didn't have before. I am grateful to be 43 years old. I am grateful to have gray hair. I am grateful to be in this stage of my life. I am grateful to be in menopause, because this keeps me healthy and keeps the cancer from reoccurrence. So I'm not ashamed, or I'm not going to try to hide anything. I want to harmonize with the heartbeat of the earth, harmonize with nature. I don't have any more energy to fight nature, to try to look younger than I am, to swim against this stream. It is so exhausting to me. Even I remember when I used to color my hair, now I think about it, I'm like, how did I even do that? That is so exhausting. And how much money did I waste trying to color my hair, trying to style my hair, trying to, put a mask on really who I am, trying to find out who this post-cancer Maha is going to be. So I always say, there was Yemen Maha, the childhood Maha that grew up in Yemen, grew up in a violent environment, the girl that was just trying to survive. And then when I came to the United States, there was American Maha. I just wanted to be American. I wanted to be free. And then there was Yogi Maha when I discovered yoga, and I loved yoga, and I wanted to be a yoga teacher and be of service to others and help people heal. And now there is this post-cancer Maha that I'm still trying to get to know. And hopefully I'm gonna get out of this hermitage that I built for myself, this cocoon, because I'm starting to feel that I am ready. I am ready to be in the world. I'm done with recovering and hiding. I wouldn't even call it hiding. It was a crucial necessity for me to go inward, to rediscover who I am, and I needed that time. I needed to be away from the outside noise, outside influences of people trying to tell me what to do. That's it, folks.